From Virat Kohli's MCG6 against Pakistan to Bumrah's stump-destroying Yorker to Ollie Pope. Incredible things happen on the cricket ground. We also get iconic lines off it, like Jarrod saying, "I only believe in Jesse Bye." There are so many incredible moments that cricket fans just never forget. And now you can wear them on your chest. Free Hit Gear has launched a line of amazing t-shirts and hoodie designs. Passionate fans in India can order through their website, freehitgear.com, while fans abroad can use Free Hit Gear on the Etsy store to have items delivered to them. Order now with the code GOODAREAS, all one word, to get a limited time 15% discount, and you can wear a t-shirt like this one right here.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 61 of the Crickpicks podcast. I'm Behram and Estelle, who you can find at DefMango on Twitter. To my right is Estelle Vasudevan, who you can find on Twitter as well at Estelle_Vasudev1. And to my left, as always, is Jarrod Kimber, who you can find absolutely everywhere. And just a quick briefer on Crickpicks if you're new over here. On this podcast, the three of us, we draft the top 15 of any random cricket category. And it's via a snake-style draft competition. So the pick order goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And sometimes on this podcast, we combine to draft teams. And that's what we'll be doing this week as well. We basically, in our last episode on Crickpicks, kind of combined to draft a Champions Trophy winners team, only to realize that a lot of random people have won it. And that's why this week we're going to draft a random Champions Trophy winners team. I'm really excited about this one. And Estelle, you have first pick. As we all know, Estelle is the master of first picks. So how random can she get?
She can't get this one wrong.
Yeah, we've finally come to a topic where there's no wrong answer, right? Like,
yes,
but
imagine
pick like a Brett Lee or something.
Imagine Jarrod, she picks someone extremely mainstream for the random team.
I love how she says there's no wrong answers here. I was like, we'll be the judge of that in about 10 seconds time.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going for probably the safest pick of all. I'm going for Mike Rindell, who played for South Africa in the 1998 winning team. This is one name that I cannot remember at all. I mean, a lot of the other people that we'll probably pick up kind of familiar in some way, right? But not Mike Rindell. So he's played 22 ODIs, 575 runs at an average of 27, 102 50s. He opened the batting for South Africa in that edition of the Champions Trophy. So I think he fits the bill for this topic.
He does, but did he score any runs?
He did,
in that Champions Trophy.
20 odd?
49, I think.
Oh, 49 was that many.
Yeah.
There we go. What a legend. Okay. You would have gone to his Cricinfo profile.
Yeah.
What does his Cricinfo profile say of him? Do you remember?
1 second. Attacking left-hand bat who also bowled left-arm dobbers and orthodox left-arm spin.
What else does it say about him?
That
is his entire Cricinfo profile. It's a sentence in which they mention that he bowled left-arm dobbers.
They didn't even take the sentence seriously.
they gave up midway through writing it. It's like someone... So let me just explain how Cricinfo profiles work. Back in the old days, I don't know how they work now, but back in the old days, freelancers would get lots of work. And at the start of every year, it'd be like, can you go through all the first-class players and make sure that we've got anyone who's a notable player should have a bio, right? So in case they get a test thing, or maybe they make 300s in a row in first-class cricket or whatever, so that when people go there, there's a bit of information. This guy won a Champions Trophy final, and the person who did the bio put as little effort as possible into writing it. This looks like to me, it was written in 1998, and no one else ever worried about it ever again.
And this dude got paid for this sentence where he used the word dobbers.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
Just absolute brilliant. I think had to be number one, didn't he? I'd be disappointed if he wasn't.
I'm assuming there'll be a few more South Africans in this team because out of all the great teams that have gone to ICC events, this one has actually won an ICC event and it is a completely random team. It didn't even have Alan Donald in it.
You could basically pick 8 of our 12, I reckon, for the South African 11 alone if you really wanted to push it. And I'm going South Africa second.
Wait, I have it written down. And do the 3-2-1 thing. I know your pick.
3, 2, 1. Derek Brooks.
Yep, Derek Crooks
Yep.
it is.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I almost went with I always say the other person's name. I almost said it. It doesn't matter because no one's going to know who it is anyway. But I almost went with someone else. I've gone with Derek Crooks because Mike Rindell, I was like, okay, I think there's a chance in the 90s, a random player played some limited overs cricket and I didn't know about them and they ended up in a Champions Trophy, right? I didn't think it was a possibility that a cricket team could win with Derek Crooks in it. Like,
What was his average? 14 with the
He
bat and
averaged-
40 with the ball, was it?
yeah, 15 with the bat, was it, or 14? It was something so,
Yeah.
like he must have the worst
14.
negative, he must have the worst negative splits in all-rounder history, right? And clearly was a brilliant fielder. And look, I remember watching him play. This dude tried hard, like nothing but respect for him to get to international level, especially what was quite a talented side. Like, you know, that was a period of South African cricket. And he played, what, 30 or 40 games, Estelle? Does that sound right?
1 second.
Like he
Yeah,
wasn't like
30,
he popped up.
32 games.
Yeah, it wasn't like he popped up for a game or two. Like he was around for a good period of time, but he could neither bat at international standard or bowl at international standard. And he has won a Champions Trophy. What an absolute legend.
What was his bowling average, Estelle?
Bowling in ODI is 40.
What was his econ?
Econ 4.96.
In that era?
4.96 in the mid-90s. You had to really try hard to go as a spinner in the middle overs in the 90s at 5 runs and over. You had to spoon feed the opposition. Like, good on him. As I said, should not have played international cricket and did it by sheer great fielding and a sheer will.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I
And I
think,
mean,
ironically, the Champions Trophy final, he has 24 of 21. So that probably was one of his better innings.
his best innings.
Greatest moment of his life. What a legend.
I remember that in the previous Crickpicks episode, Jarrod, you said that he was the Jim Fort of South Africa, but he does not have the Jim Fort hair or look. He has a very forgettable face.
Yeah. I mean, I probably covered Derek Crooks more than anyone ever has. And if he was standing next to me in an airport, I wouldn't know.
Fair enough. All right, that leaves me with 2 back-to-back picks. And for my first pick, I mean, we'll need a wicket-keeper in this side. And what better player to pick than Courtney Brown? I mean, this guy played 20 test matches. He averaged 16 with the bat in 20 tests and 46 ODIs with an average of 17. He scored 35 not out in that final in 2004 versus England and was one half of that legendary partnership. And I mean, he was playing purely on wicket keeping. Was he like
Batted
an
at 9,
exceptional
right?
keeper? Yeah, he did bat at 9. Who batted at 9 as a wicketkeeper in 2004? Courtney Brown is the answer. But I mean, I can't remember his keeping much, Jarrod. Was he like exceptional? Was he like a Seymour Clarke of his era?
No. I mean,
He was
fine.
exceptional in that he was really tall and like he wasn't like a stereotypical keeper, right?
Yeah,
Like
he's a good
in terms of
athlete.
looks. Yeah.
I think he moved around all right, but I don't remember anyone saying that like Courtney Brown was like the greatest wicketkeeper of his time or anything. Like he was just fine. It was probably that I got a feeling that they had Junior Murray, and Junior Murray had probably just faded by that point, right? And that I think they really struggled with wicketkeepers for maybe 5 or 6 years. And Courtney Brown is, I think, Ridley Jacobs is another one.
Yep.
That a lot of guys come in who really didn't do much, right? I mean, Dinesh Ranjan ends up with a really good career in international cricket without ever being that exceptional as a batter or a keeper either. So I just think they struggled for wicket keepers for a long period of time, and Courtney Brown was there. I wonder if he's almost not random enough though, because if he's known for anything, it is literally this one game.
I mean, but if you're averaging 16 in Test cricket and 17 with the bat in ODIs, then I suppose you can fit the bill. One of his best innings came in the final. His best ever innings probably came in that final.
I mean, I can't think of another single thing that you would ever remember him for at that point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in all of international cricket, he had like 150. And I mean, there are bowlers in teams who have more 50s than that overall. So, I mean, I just thought that there's no better pick for wicketkeeper, so I've gone for him first up. And for my second pick, I'm going to relieve you guys of picking a spinner. I'm going Nathan Hauritz. He is a winner.
Excuse me. What about Derek Crooks?
Oh, right. Derek Crooks is there as well. But Hauritz is a winner of the Champions Trophy in 2009 with Australia, of course. This guy, weirdly enough, has 63 wickets in 17 test matches at nearly 35 and 63 wickets in 50 ODIs at 34. So he has like identical records in both formats. In the Champions Trophy, however, in 2009, he played all 5 games and he took 5 wickets at 23, including 3 for 37 in the final. So this was the best of Nathan Hauritz that we saw in the 2009 Champions Trophy, I assume. And I mean, there were a few spinners lingering around there. I think Dan Cullen made the 2006 squad as well. But I mean, I'm going for Hauritz. Right arm off break, and he's going to give sturdy competition to Derek Crooks. Probably oust him in the pecking order.
I would argue. Wait, what's Nathan Horitz's overall record? I would argue that Nathan Hauritz is probably a better batter and better bowler than Derek Crooks. So I don't know if he ever made any runs in
He has
ODI.
a test average of 25.
Wow.
Test average of 25. And he was picked as a specialist bowler. And he has a better record than Crooks. I think a lot of his runs come at the end of his career when he really worked on it. They basically said, "You're not very good, Nath. We're not going to pick you anymore." There was a whole 2009 Ashes debacle, right? Where they said to him, "Oh, you're going to come out here and you're going to spin to win for Australia." And he goes, "Oh, I'll try." And they're like, no, we need you to win. And they didn't pick him because he wasn't like, right?
Yeah.
But he went off and he fixed his career. And I remember he got really good. And then they stopped picking him because Nathan Lyon came along. So I always felt sorry for him. He's also got that great story, which is, it's kind of not true and it's true. He had a garage sale. And the story was that he was selling all of his Australian kit because he was so upset that he wasn't getting picked anymore. Now, it's not true.
Can't you go to jail? Can't you go to jail if you trade in your baggy green? Not that he
I
got
think it's
one,
your baggy green. I don't think he sold
Yeah.
his baggy green, but he sold a bunch of other stuff. But I think what he was saying is, I've just got all this stuff around the house. I don't know what to do with it. If you want to come and buy it, whatever. Like, but the narrative was really this other story about him. I always felt sorry for him because he literally, every time they asked him to do something, he did it. He got better and they still didn't care. Like, he just wasn't the guy that they wanted. Went on to be Ireland's bowling coach, I think, or maybe spin bowling coach for a while as well.
I remember we did a foot marks on Australian spinners and you mentioned how he had a confidence issue and that just didn't roll well with the selectors. Hauritz.
Yeah.
How many test matches did he play? Like
25-ish?
Wasn't he
So
big at age group level?
17.
Oh, so
Yeah.
17 test matches is a fair bit.
Yeah, no, he was around for a while. Yeah, no, he was from a young age, Estelle, they always thought he would be the next. I honestly think a lot of it was that he wasn't the kind of cricketer that they wanted at that stage. They wanted guys who would come in and rip it away. And he was just a polite person with skills as cricketer. And then, as I said, they eventually made him become a different cricketer and he did it. And then they were like, yeah, but we're done. We had some fun with you. So I always felt really bad for him. But I think it's remarkable because he's probably more well known for being a backup spinner in Australia and probably more well known for being a test spinner. So the fact that he won a Champions Trophy is quite random in itself. Even if you manage to remember Nathan Hauritz, I think that chances you remember him as a Champions Trophy winner are about 1,000 to 1.
I suppose so. But I mean, 3 for 37 in the final. And I mean, he'd be happy with that accomplishment. And despite Australian selectors kind of going out or him going out of favor with the selectors, he's made it to this team. So I think he should be proud of himself.
So it's back on me then.
Yep.
Oh, this one's easy. I just realized I spelled it wrong. But Dale Benkenstein.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
I can't believe you've left him there. Dale Benkenstein, I just want to have a look at his record because we're going to have to Google every one of these players, aren't we? Because the idea of us remembering any of these players is just ridiculous. But Dale Benkenstein comes from a cricketing family in South Africa. Actually, I think he might have been born in Zimbabwe, but I don't know if he is Zimbabwean or whether he just happened to be born there at the time. But he comes from this really good cricket family and plays a lot of cricket. He makes his debut in where are we here? 1993, right? And I reckon he was still playing. Yeah, he was still playing professional cricket in 2013.
Yeah, I remember him from the ICL. You remember the ICL? Benkenstein played it.
Yeah.
So I'm just having a look here. Yeah, so it looks like he tried to play he played for South Africa. Yeah, he played for South Africa, not Zimbabwe, but he qualified for both, so he could have played for either. 20-year career. People in county cricket would talk about him like he was an absolute god. right? Like they would say like, you have no idea how good this guy was. Just a really top player, played for Durham on spicy as hell wickets and over 264 games, averages 44 in first class cricket. Like this top player, but wrong place, wrong time. Like a middle order player in South Africa when they've got Cullinan and Jonty and Amler and De Villiers and Callis and blah, 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? He's probably like a small step below, like those sort of fringier players there, but unfortunately just never got through. When I saw him here, I was so shocked that he won the Champions Trophy because I think of him as like this county legend, and I couldn't even remember him ever playing for South Africa. He plays 23 games and averages 18 for South Africa. So it never worked, is the best way of putting it out. But just if you're an English cricket fan, you just know Dale Benkenstein. And I don't know what percentage of English cricket fans who would have seen him play a million times for Durham and would have seen his name pop up on Benkenstein with another 100, Benkenstein with another 100, all this sort of stuff. I don't know how many of those people would have ever thought, this guy won a Champions Trophy with South Africa.
Yeah. And I mean, in the middle over there somewhere, like in the mid 2000s, I believe, Ashwell Prince was in the middle order, right? For South Africa.
Oh, I mean, you could go on and on. That's what I mean. They just had.
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking of players who might be at that same sort of level, right, as Benkenstein. And Prince probably qualifies? Or would you take Prince over Benkenstein?
What, as
a test batter in the middle order?
Prince,
I think Ashwell Prince was a better player than Benkenstein. But there's not a lot between them, would be my point. Like Benkenstein in probably another era probably plays, let's say, 30 test matches and averages high 30s, mid 30s, and everyone remembers him a little bit more. He played a lot of one-day cricket. My memory of him was he wasn't really a particularly great white ball player. He was more, my memory of him was he was a better red ball player. So he probably should have played a test, but it's just stacked. They were stacked for middle order players, whereas they probably had quite a few Botar Dippener type guys at the top order that weren't quite as strong.
Well, an ODI average or batting average of 17 and a Champions Trophy winner's medal.
Yeah.
So good on you, Dale Benkenstein.
Absolute legend.
All right, Estelle, 2
All
picks
right,
for you.
I've got 2. My first one will be another middle order batter. I think we can fit one more in, right? Ryan Hines, West Indies, 2004. At
Not
first
even
glance,
the
I think
most famous Hines.
Yeah, not
exactly.
Wavell.
Not even the most famous Hines in the Champions Trophy winning side.
In the same team.
I think a lot of, at first, when you hear it, you're probably thinking, no, wait, Hines is a guy who played a lot, but this is not that Hines. This is a different Hines who played only 14 ODIs and averaged 16. Batted in the middle order for that West Indian team that won the Champions Trophy in 2004. He does bowl a bit of left arm orthodox as well, so maybe that's a plus for him coming into this team because we have a couple of off spinners already. But I really didn't know much about him, as you would expect.
I remember him.
I remember his face vividly.
Yeah, I remember him. He was, they thought he could bat a bit and he could bowl and he was thought to be a very good player. But I think, again, that period, Lara, Jimmy Adams, Sarwan, Chandrapal were all in their middle order. Maybe even Arthurton was still around at that point. Like, they had a bunch of guys and he just couldn't get into the side that much. But, I know a lot of people who thought he was a much better cricketer than he ended up, being again. But yeah, I mean, it's a random cricketer. Like, if you remember Ryan Hines, there's something wrong with you. Like, and that's okay. But do you remember him, Estelle, or not?
No, not at all. I remember Wavell Hines, but not Ryan. And if you look at that batting order, it's just him, right? That's the random one. I suppose you could say Ricardo Powell as well.
I actually really liked Ricardo Powell.
Yeah, same.
I don't think anyone would argue he's not random, though.
Yeah, he is pretty random. But people do tend to remember him. He just had that kind of game. He was like a hard hitter. But Ryan Hines is not the Hines people remember. That's definitely
By the way, we've got to read the cricket
Ricky-
profiles of all these people because, like, I just read Dale Benkenstein's and it said that he was earmarked to be the next captain after Hansi Cronje, which is just
Okay.
Yes.
wild to consider where his career is at that. And I've just seen Ryan Hines made his debut for Barbados in the Commonwealth Games.
Wow.
At
Amazing.
17.
Would you say, Jarrod, that Ryan Hines is the Ricky Clark of the West Indies?
Ooh. I don't know if anyone could ever be the Ricky Clark of anywhere. No, I don't. I mean, probably because he goes on to play. He makes 6,000 first-class runs at an average of 38. Like, he would be an automatic player in their team probably in another era, right? Like, I think he was, you know, and he plays for Barbados. So maybe that's the reason that his name is a little bit more well-known than anyone, than someone else. But yeah, he was a good player. He really was a good player. I remember watching him and going, oh, he could be a good player. And then that was it. I never saw him ever again. He just disappeared from all memory.
Averaged 16 in ODIs and bagged the Champions Trophy winners.
He
medal.
did play a bit of Test cricket as well, right? Like
Yeah, he played like 10 or 15
Yeah,
test
15.
matches. I think I remember him more for test. I don't remember him in limited overs. But I must have seen him make runs because I can't imagine any other reason I would have remembered him. I'll just have a look if he played.
his two 50s
Yeah.
in 15 tests.
Who did he make the 50s against? He made one against England and one against Pakistan. That's why Behram remembers him then. He never played Australia. I have no idea how I know this guy.
Pakistan and England, yeah.
Yep. All right, Estelle.
Okay,
Pick number
one
3.
more. So I mean, there's no crick picks that I don't pick a Sri Lankan, right? So I'm going with Pulasti Gunaratne as one of the right arm quicks in this lineup. Can
Okay.
either one of you remember who he is?
No clue.
I think you
No
made that
clue at
name
all.
up.
Did he even get a game in that Champions Trophy?
He
Estelle?
played the final. So
Wow.
funny thing is, as I mentioned,
God, you're
in
right.
the previous one,
I didn't even notice it in my list, that name.
so he was named in 111 for the final and not the other. So he played half a Champions Trophy final.
Oh my God, that is the greatest story of all time, isn't it? It's like, do you get half a trophy at the end for being in half the... Do you know
I
if he
think
has a
played the
winner's
first
medal?
one.
Yeah, did he
I don't
get
know.
a
He probably
winner's
does,
medal?
right?
He
But he's in
should,
the
but he
squad
might
anyway.
not. Because the second game is the one where you would have got the medals from.
I suppose a squad gets one, doesn't it?
Oh, you might be
Yeah,
right.
the squad. The squad.
Yeah,
does
it is
get
squad.
one.
Yeah, no,
would
you're
have
right.
bagged
It
it.
is the squad. He's okay.
What's his-
Imagine that.
What's
He's
his
the
overall
funny
record?
one Jarrod mentioned in the previous game where so India were chasing 245 in the first version of the final, and they ended up 14 for no loss in 2 overs. And of that 14, the first over was a maiden by Vas, and then Pulasti went for 14 off his next.
Wow. I think Jarrod
So
didn't even
overall,
bother
it-
reading the name when he was telling us the story of the second over.
So what? I'm just having a look here.
I remember him distinctly because he was a horrible bat. And like he was like one of those players who you almost felt didn't know what he was doing. Yeah.
So this is the Cricket Flow Profiles Crickpicks, right? Because Andrew Miller wrote this one, and I reckon this
Okay.
is Andrew Miller before he's an editor, when he first starts with Cricket Flow. This is probably one of the first jobs he has. Because Estelle, what did you just say about his batting?
I said that it was not good. But this says something different, doesn't it?
His batting is more effective than elegant, but 2 first-class 50s hindered a man who knows which end of the willow is which. That just shows that Miller probably saw him bat once, right, and had to pop out this profile to make it look like, because he's probably, did he play against England in ODIs?
He must have. Let me check.
Right. So again, if you play against England or Australia, he played a couple of ODIs against England. If you play against major sides or in a Champions Trophy, someone has to do your profile, right? Because otherwise it looks really bad on cricket. So if you go there and there's no profile there, that is so random he's so random that he was in the list and I didn't even pick him. Right.
What's his record? What has he done?
He has 23 ODIs, 27 wickets at 33, economy
Okay.
of 5.68.
All right.
That's quite high
I
for
mean,
that period.
he did.
I mean,
He did
that's-
concede 14 runs in that solitary over that he bowled in that half a final.
And I mean, that was a time where Sri Lanka had pretty decent fast bowlers. Dilhara Fernando.
Yeah.
He made his
Kulasekara
debut at
must be-
28. He was 28
Yeah.
when he played as
Yeah, yeah.
well. Wow.
Wasn't
Older.
Kulasekara, in and around that
Not
time?
yet. I feel
No,
like
he was a little bit
Kulasekara came a
after.
bit after, but Was was around and yeah.
Nuwan Zoisa.
Nuwan Zoisa, yeah.
Okay, well, that was pretty random.
I like
On
that.
to you,
I'm a
Jarrod.
big fan. Now, I don't know where to go here. There's a couple of... I want to keep one player back because I don't think either of you are going to take this player. This guy played too much cricket, maybe. Okay. Okay. I am going to go Shane O'Connor.
Oh, the Kiwi quick.
Yeah.
Because he was someone else who, like, I had to Google when I came up. And when you Google Shane, it is Shane O'Connor, isn't it? Oh my God, if I got his name
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah,
But
Shane O'Connor.
the name is spelled in a different way, right?
It's with a Y, isn't
S-H-A-Y,
it?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And if you write Shane O'Connor in the normal way, it comes up with it doesn't even come up with him. Like, it's one of those names that, like, there's just nothing of it, just doesn't even work. So he actually plays like 50 international games. And I wonder how many players have played 50 international games in the, let's say, the post 1990 era. And fewer people know who they are. Like, it's a lot of international games, almost 100. I think he ended up with 99 international wickets. Oh my God, he doesn't, does he? So 99 international wickets. And the name was vaguely familiar. And even then I had absolutely no idea about him. He's a left arm seamer who got injured a little bit. And looking at this, I think there was a chance he might have done a little bit better. But no, again, nothing. I know nothing about this human being at all. So much so that I didn't know how to spell his name.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear Shane O'Connor, I think of like some Irish country singer, right? With his guitar, singing out beautiful ballads and whatever. But anyway,
I think if you put in Shane O'Connor without the word cricket and spell it without Y, Sinead O'Connor actually comes up. So you're not far off with Irish singers.
But yeah, I mean, it's so weird how every now and then there is some obscure cricketer whose videos are shared on Twitter. So I actually saw Shane O'Connor for the first time not too long ago, and he used to swing the ball a mile apparently. So yeah, it's interesting how he's made it to this team.
What I couldn't even tell you that. I couldn't tell you that he swung the ball a mile.
Anyway, that leaves me with 2 picks. What's our team looking like? What do we need?
We've got Mike Rendell is opening. I've got Benkenstein at 4, Hines at 6. And then we've got Courtney Brown, Nathan Hauritz, Derek Crooks. What is it? I don't even know this guy's name, and you've said it.
Pulasti Gunaratne.
Pulasti Gunaratne and Shane O'Connor at 11 at the moment. I don't know if Shane O'Connor can bat, actually. I don't know anything about Shane O'Connor.
Pulasti can't bat. So he should be 11.
Okay.
Wait, let me just
But
have a look
Andrew
at Shane.
thinks...
Do we care about the composition of this team?
Yes, we do. Shane O'Connor averages in 38 ODIs, he averaged 3.42. And in 19 tests, he averaged 5.72. He's below Gunaratne for me.
Oh, no.
Andrew Miller has pushed him up.
Okay, so I'm going to go for a player as my third pick who people might remember, but I find him completely random because he played for Australia in an era where I think he never deserved to play for Australia, honestly. So let's go with James Hopes, 84 ODIs.
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
I mean, look at his record. He's played 84 ODIs, which is quite a lot. And I remember him from the IPL as well. I think he was with Punjab. 1326 runs.
Yeah.
Oh, does he? 1,326 runs at 25. And he's also got 67 ODI wickets at 35.58. And in this Champions Trophy, he got 2 wickets at 52.5 in 5 games, played all 5, and he averaged 14 with the bat, which includes an unbeaten 22 in the final. So imagine how much he would have averaged without that 22. And I mean, we probably need like middle order batting, right? Middle order batting. So James
I'm not
Hopes
even
qualifies.
sure he's a middle order batter. I think you might be pushing him a little bit there.
Yeah.
He's probably a number 7 or a number 8.
7 or 8.
They basically, I think they just wanted James Hopes because they thought he could be the next Ian Harvey. And it just never quite worked, right? Like he wasn't as good a bat as Ian Harvey, although Ian Harvey never batted particularly well for Australia, but he wasn't anywhere near the bowler that Ian Harvey was either. And I think they just wanted that fifth bowling option for a while. And he played a lot of games, man. Like he almost played 100 international games. Yeah. That would be my only issue is I don't know if he's that random because he played so many games. But I remember Peter Roebuck talking about it. I think I'm right in saying Peter Roebuck. It was either Peter Roebuck or me, but I think it's Peter Roebuck who wrote this of him. He's the sort of guy that if you saw him in like the thirds 11 in club cricket, you'd be like, yeah, he's pretty good. And if you saw him in the first 11 in club 11, you'd be like, he's pretty good. If you saw him in grade cricket, you'd be like, he's pretty good. You see him for Queensland, you're like, yeah, he's pretty good. And then you see him for Australia, you're like, yeah, he's pretty good. Like at no stage would he ever have like looked like he was a star. Also, at no stage would he ever look like he was terrible. He's just like, he's fine. He was just this incredible, hardworking cricketer. And he's gone on to have a great career in coaching. Like he clearly did. I just remember him for having the lowest hair to eyebrow line of all time. Like it was like his hairline started here. It's just such an awkward place to do it. But geez, he tried hard. I'm gonna see. I think for me and Estelle, I don't know if he's random enough.
I think he's really unlucky because there are other middle order batters and actually I think another Australian who might be a little more random.
Oh, I think I know which Australian you're talking about, and that Australian actually
if you
has
follow
a pretty
cricket
good.
now, you probably know him because he's on commentary. But anyway.
Oh, well, the Australian I was thinking about has a pretty decent ODI record. I was surprised when I looked up his ODI record, right? And I have seen him in commentary, so I think we're talking about the same guy.
The one thing I would say about Hopes is, compared to everyone else on this list, he's the one player I think at the moment you would think, yeah, that makes sense that he won a Champions Trophy because he played for so long. Whereas I think even with Hauritz, the other Australian, you'd be like, what? And even with someone like Courtney Brown, you have to remember the game to remember Courtney Brown. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no other way you're remembering him. And if you look at the other 6 names that me and Estelle have made up, like no one's remembering them as anything, let alone as, as Champions Trophies winners. So that would be my only caveat. But I did have Hopes on my longer list. And then I just decided that he wasn't quite random enough.
I mean, he does give this team hope, if anything else.
But I do think, like, given what Behram has mentioned about his record, he's certainly performed much less well than I remember. I thought I would have imagined him to have a better record.
Yeah, I mean,
he wasn't.
He's just a random dude in the middle of that Australian team, which is why I picked him. But anyway, do we have any room whatsoever for a bowler in this team?
No. The most random.
You just picked a bowler and you've called him a batter. We've got no space for bowlers at all, which is a real shame because there's a really obvious bowler who should be in this list.
Yep, there are 2 obvious bowlers actually, in my list at least. Man, the other guy that I'm about to pick, you guys aren't going to call him random either, but it's random that he's won an ODI trophy. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick him. Azhar Ali will be my last pick in this team. 53 ODIs. So we all remember Azhar Ali as being, this gritty batter in Test cricket who actually overperformed, if anything. And he was a mainstay in Pakistan's team at both number 3 and opened. But in ODIs, this man in 53 ODIs scored 1,845 runs at an average of nearly 37. Okay, not terrible. Throw in a strike rate of 75 in an era where people were going at run a ball. Azhar Ali was never cut out for ODI cricket. Yet, in 5 games in the 2017 Champions Trophy, he scored 228 runs at an average of 45.6. And that includes 76 versus England in the semi-final and 59 versus India in the final at the Oval. And that Cardiff 76, I remember, was so solid that, Pakistan were chasing 220 odd. And after Azhar Ali's innings, the game was done. Right? At least in the India one, he just gave Pakistan a start. But the fact that he played such a pivotal role in Pakistan lifting that Champions Trophy, and the fact that he's Azhar Ali, who was never supposed to be there, and was never there after that either. That was it. I think he deserves a spot in the team.
I covered that tournament. I covered that final. I reckon I covered 4 Pakistan games in that tournament. And when I looked at the scorecard and I saw his name, I was like, Azhar Ali played? I had him very high up my list. Very high up my list for that reason. Just because who thinks of Azhar Ali as a ODI player? Like, it's just If you had told me Azhar Ali never played an ODI, I would have been like, that makes sense. And
I'm
I've
gonna
been
go
to
ahead.
several of his ODIs.
What if I tell you that Azhar Ali captained Pakistan in ODI cricket?
I mean, it feels like we're just making stuff up now. Like this is like the Mandela effect, right? Like somehow we've all just not remembered Azhar Ali playing one-day cricket at all, and he's almost played as many one-days as he has test matches. It's a remarkable record. I just want to go through. Estelle, have you got any thoughts on Azhar Ali, the ODI player?
No, I didn't have him in my team because he was, to me, not random. I guess because...
Wait, him being there is random. I suppose.
All right, I just want to go through here and see. So 2016, yeah. I reckon I have been at or covered in one way or another somewhere around 7 or 8 of his ODIs, and I do not remember him playing. How is that possible?
I mean, he's got a white jacket, Jarrod.
It's not like I'm not obsessed with him, because I am clearly obsessed with Azhar Ali, right?
Yeah.
I find that very random. Okay.
He's a fan of the Good Areas podcast as well, right? Like,
I know,
Azhar Ali
actually,
follows us.
Hope he doesn't watch this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did talk him up. He did phenomenally well at that Champions Trophy. And then I think they kicked him out of the team.
I think that's what's more interesting to me is he did a fine job, and then they were like, "Well, you've had your time here." All right. Okay, we've got Azhar Ali. So I'll go with a number 3 here. I really wanted to pick a bowler, but I'll talk about the bowler in the extras, in the people we've missed out. But there's a reason I want to mention this particular bowler. But I'm going to go Craig Spearman.
The New Zealand batter.
There you go. You know who he is.
Yeah, I remember him from cricket games. That's my only memory of Craig Spearman.
What do you think, Craig Spearman, who played 51 ODIs as an opening batter, what do we think Craig Spearman might have averaged?
23?
That's a fair guess. Estelle?
27?
Again, fair, reasonable things to think of as a middling player whose name rings a bit of a bell. But again, we probably don't remember what he looks like. He averaged 18.7.
Oh.
Okay. We were close.
He played 51 games.
Wow.
Craig
As an
Spearman.
opening bat.
As an opening bat, yeah. He went on to have a pretty good career in Gloucestershire. So a bit like Dale Benkenstein. I think a lot of English fans will remember him more for county cricket than they will for international cricket. But yeah, New Zealand were convinced he was going to come good, and it just never happened, right? Like, he played 19 test matches, 26.34. Like, he had his, and I've seen him bat. Like, he could bat. I don't know what happened at international level, but it just never transferred over. And you have a look at his overall domestic record. It's, again, not that impressive. And yet people remember him as a really good batter who never quite made it. Just a great, but as you said, Behram, I think he's almost more remembered for the amount of times he was on video games and stuff like that than almost anything else with Craig Spearman. He was like in all the video games for a long period of time. And I just took him over Roger Twos. I don't know which one of them is more random. Does anyone have, I don't know. Well, I don't want to say it in case Estelle, her last pick is Roger Twos. But Roger Twos almost played 100 ODI games in the end. And that was the reason I was like, that's just too many. I'm sorry. At a certain point, I'm just going to have... And Roger Twos actually played really well. It's just for some reason, our collective memories have just forgotten Roger Twos ever existed. But he was a really good player.
I remember Roger Twos just because of the name. Because obviously as cricket fans and everything, when we're growing up, we Google and Wikipedia stuff. And, the 99 World Cup is a tournament in which New Zealand did quite well. They reached the semi. And from what my memory, or if memory serves me correct, Roger Twos had a pretty decent campaign back then. I think.
Yeah, I think he was a legit player, Roger Twos. So essentially, I don't know who would be remembered more or less, I should say, in this case, out of the two of them. But I've gone with Spearman because I just think that he didn't make, at least with Roger Twos, there's a chance if you watch cricket in the 90s, you saw him make runs, right? Whereas with Craig Spearman, looking at his record, there's very little chance you saw him make runs.
I think when I was checking the names for this, Roger Twos could also have made a facial hair episode because he has like a little
soul patch.
He does.
He did have a little soul patch.
That's an interesting
Okay,
one.
last pick, right? So
Yeah.
ideally a 12th or maybe another batter.
We probably
I
need
don't
more
know.
batting because we can push out a bowler. We've got three. We've got three spinners, and we've got three seamers in the side as it currently. Yeah, I don't know if we count Azhar Ali's bowling, but he may not be that far off Derek Crooks' bowling.
Yeah.
Rindell bowls
Probably
as well,
better.
I think. I think he bowled in that final.
He bowls left arm dobbers, I think, if you remember back. But yes, he
Okay,
does.
so I'll pick a batter. The Australian who I was mentioning as maybe a little more random than James Hopes. I think there's a lot. I think a lot of people who follow Australian domestic cricket, it will not be random to them. But the fact that he was in a title-winning team, kind of, is Callum Ferguson.
Yeah, I had him on my list.
He
But
was
the problem
like
was,
a big talent, right? But
yeah.
Yeah.
he had
When you
lots
look
of
at his
injuries
ODI
and-
record, he's averaging mid-40s, isn't he? Who remembers
He was-
Callum Ferguson averaging mid-40s?
yeah, but
Sadly,
that's
I
the thing,
do.
right? You don't remember. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, apart
I do
from
remember his
Jarrod-
face, though. He has a very unforgettable face. Once
yes,
you
I
see
used
Callum
to be
Ferguson.
a big fan of him because I used to be a fan of Green Day, and he looks exactly like
Yes.
their lead guy, right?
He does.
My
He does look like
I've
he's
never
been
thought
walking
about that before. And
a
now I
lonely
really think-
road.
I think I saw him at a World Cup and almost said that to him, but then
Yeah. No, he
My
has that
memory of
exact same
him-
face.
is that he plays in his first test match and he got run out by the sub fielder. I think it was Dane Villas, who arguably is less random than Callum Ferguson
Yeah.
in some ways. So I think he got run out in the first innings, and then Rabada picked him up in the second inning. So he just made no runs. I was writing over and over again, like I couldn't understand why Australian cricket wasn't giving him more chances, because you watched him play. He made runs and he looked like a really good cricketer. But I think it was just that they didn't quite trust that his numbers were realistic, if you know what I mean. Like I don't think they thought that. I think they just thought he overperformed in a couple of games. But I was like, I'd like him to play more games because of how well he did. But yeah, no, he played really, really well. I think it's really interesting that he's become like a TV presence very late on in his career, because you're right, the average fan has not thought of Callum Ferguson. How many years would he have played? Because he played a lot of games, but I reckon they all would have been in a tight period. Yeah, 09 to 2011. So he
I
played
remember
all of
his
his
debut.
games. Yeah,
His
he
ODI
played all of
debut.
his games really, really tightly packed together. It wasn't like his career was stretched out or anything.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, he's not up there. I think that's a good choice. I think Callum Ferguson's a good choice. The only thing that holds you back is that of recent times he started to turn up on things, right? And,
Yeah.
did he
That's
do
why I
some
said-
Crick Info podcasts or something? Or maybe
I
he
think
did
he's
something
on
with Mel
Crick
Farrell?
Info. Yeah, I think he's on Crick Info for some of their shows, or Crick Buzz, one of the two. And he's
Yeah.
also on commentary, right? So
Yeah.
It'd be
I've
Crick
seen him on
Buzz. It'll
commentary.
be Barrett who's got him the gig, probably.
Ah.
I've got a feeling that I interviewed him for a piece I wrote years ago. I'm just trying to remember. I reckon. I hope I'm right in saying this, that I chatted with him somewhere and that he was a really nice guy. Unless I've got him confused with another South Australian cricketer. But I've chatted to him somewhere. Maybe it was in a press box or something. And I remember him being a really good guy. But he's a good cricketer. He's just
Yeah.
he was a good cricketer. And I think he deserved better. But, in that period, again, it's middle order of Australia, right? Like there's
Yeah.
probably players everywhere. Like David Hussey and Brad Hodge were struggling to get in and out of those sides, right? Like, and to be fair, they're better players than Callum Ferguson. Okay.
Also, I remember Callum Ferguson making his ODI debut versus Pakistan in the UAE in 2009. So he was pretty decent throughout. He wasn't someone who was explosive, though. I feel that might have gone against him.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I'm going to move the team around a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to take Derek Crooks out because Derek Crooks should be 12th.
Yeah, he should.
Okay.
He's
That's
the
where
quintessential
I had him
12th
at-
man.
in my
Yep.
team as well.
Mike Rindell, Azhar Ali, Craig Spearman. You could swap those two around as well if you wanted to. But Dale Benkenstein, Callum Ferguson, Ryan Hines, James Hopes, Courtney Brown, Nathan Hauritz, Pulashti Gunaratne, Shane O'Connor, Derek Crooks.
Wow.
There's a bunch of names that we could do, and we've mentioned some of them already. But can I just say, the funniest person not to be on this list is Steve Elworthy. right? Because Steve Elworthy is quite a random cricketer. The fact that he was playing in that game ahead of all the South African greats and is hilarious. But the funniest thing is, Steve Elworthy, as far as I'm aware, is the only person in the history of cricket to win a Champions Trophy and plan a Champions Trophy, because that is what his job was for the ICC for years. He planned pretty much every tournament from, I would say maybe the 2009 Champions Trophy might have been the first one. He might have done some of the T20 World Cups in that early period as well. But he planned pretty much, a decade's worth of tournaments for the ICC. Wow. That was his job, right? So he literally is the only, and somehow we haven't got him in this side. Yeah. He maybe is not random enough because he does play for South Africa in the 99 World Cup as well. So it depends on how you feel about Steve. I know, I've met Steve Elworthy and I've talked to him quite a few times. So I know him. Here's a story about Steve Elworthy. I think this is true because he told me this. He called me once and he was in hospital when he called me. And I'm pretty sure he injured himself. I think like cutting his lawn and maybe put the lawnmower over his foot or something like that. Steve, if Steve's watching this, he could correct me if I'm wrong. But my memory of like the first time I ever talked to him in my life, he called me from hospital and it was like, yeah, I'm in hospital at the moment. I can't talk for long. I've just like run up something. It might not have been that. He might have dropped a hammer on his foot or something, but it was something ghastly where you're just like, why are you calling me then? Just relax. But yeah, so Steve Elworthy, who else do you think should have been on this list? There's a couple that I think we just had to have had on.
I have so many bowlers, right? I mean, Elworthy was on my long list, but I think Ian Bradshaw is also kind of unfortunate to miss out, right? Like left arm quick. He was the other hero of the 2004 Champions Trophy final, and he was the player of the match.
Yeah, is Ian Bradshaw more random than Corey Collymore?
Yes. I think everyone remembers Corey Collymore, no?
Okay. No, I just feel that like what do you remember Corey Collymore for? Like Ian Bradshaw, I remember him because of the Champions Trophy. Yeah. Like Corey Collymore, like I'm not sure from an international cricket point of view. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought they were both quite random.
Yeah, well,
Jeff Allett?
Bradshaw. Yeah, Jeff Allett. I mean, again, a lot of people who watched the 99 World Cup would remember Jeff Allett, right? That's the thing.
What a phenomenal career. I think we might have mentioned it on the last show, or maybe we did after we recorded it. But Jeff Allett was a leading wicket taker in the 1999 World Cup and then won the Champions Trophy. And literally, his family may not know he played cricket. Like, it's ridiculous how much he like for 2 or 3 years, maybe one of the best left-arm bowlers in the world, and then no one remembers him.
Well, Bradshaw was actually
his record. He's like averaging 23, right, in ODI cricket. So what happened?
I don't know. He must have got injured, right? It must be injuries with Jeff Allett.
But anyway, on Bradshaw, he was player of the match in that final. Scored 34 not out and also took 2 for 54. Man averaged just under 30 in 62 ODIs, but in 5 test matches, his average was 60. So I think he was random enough, Ian Bradshaw. Another one, like, in the same sort of Azhar Ali sense of things, maybe Peter Siddle could have made it, right?
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting one. I was shocked when I saw him on that list.
Yeah. Because he has only played 20 ODIs. He took 17 wickets at 43.7. And in the 5 games at the Champions Trophy, which was, Jarrod, it was a quarter of his ODI career in the Champions Trophy, he took 6 wickets at 24.33. So it's ridiculous how he was just good for that Champions Trophy in 2009.
I think he's a better pick for you than Hopes.
Yeah, but like we needed a bit of batting as well, no?
And yet again, as I've said before, you did not pick any batting. You picked James Hopes. But I just think that Siddle and Azhar Ali are perfect examples of when you say that we all were of the age of watching these tournaments and we don't remember that. Like I probably covered the tournament that Siddle played in as well, and I do not remember him playing.
Yeah, and my last long list pick was Roman Reis. He played a solitary game in the 2017 Champions Trophy. Actually, the semi-final, replaced an injured Mohammad Amir. Took 2 for 44. Bowled pretty well at Cardiff, right? And he has a grand total of 9 ODIs in an injury-plagued career and has 14 wickets at 33. Left arm quick, lots of variations. Of course, all Pakistan fans will know, but no one else will know about Roman Reis.
He honestly had such a high ceiling. He could have been an incredible bowler and unfortunately just was never fit. Just an extraordinary bowler, especially with the new ball. So yeah, he's one. Have you got any, Estelle?
Just on the Azhar Ali type player, maybe Tim Payne is another one that he opened the batting. And you kind of think of him as the test test player, right? But yeah, that was a
Yeah,
strange
that's
one.
fair.
How do
I-
you feel about Ahmed Shehzad?
But he was known as a limited overs
Yeah,
player,
he
right?
was really
So-
known, but it's a terrible record. Let me put things into context. He has a worse average and worse strike rate in ODI cricket than Azhar Ali. Okay? He's striking at 72 and averaging 32.56 in a batting-friendly era. And I remember he was dropped after the first game versus India. I think he scored 12 or something. And he was replaced by Fakhar Zaman for eternity thereon. He is the reason Fakhar Zaman has a career. And I remember in the photo shoot, once Pakistan had won the Champions Trophy, Ahmed Shehzad was like the first guy with the trophy. He was hogging all the limelight. So there's that as well.
I was wondering about Mohammad Kaif because
I think he's not that right.
he played forever. But if you told me he played in that Champions Trophy final, like he just wasn't part of my, like he was the player when I looked at him and I went, really?
Yeah.
But the other one I think is interesting because he's not random, but in the final he was random, is Scott Styrus, who we could have picked as a batter, but in that final he was listed to come in at number 9.
Yeah.
And he didn't bat.
You
Like,
guys mentioned that in the last one as
That's so weird for me. But yeah, it's well, this is a brilliant Crickpicks because it's so stupid. And so awesome. And like, you know, now I'm going to be upset that we didn't have Peter Siddle in there and Steve Elworthy and Tim Payne. But also, look at the names. Let's go through this team. I'm so excited. Just one more time. Mike Rindell, Azhar Ali, Craig Spearman, Dale Benkenstein, Callum Ferguson, Ryan Hines, James Hopes, Courtney Brown, Nathan Hauritz, Pulsasti, I still can't say it, Gunaratne, Shane O'Connor, Derek Crooks, Estelle went Mike Rindell, Ryan and Hines, Pulasti, Gunaratne, Callum Ferguson. I went Derek Crooks, Dale Benkenstein, Shane O'Connor, Craig Spearman. Behram went Courtney Brown, Nathan Hauritz, James Hopes, and Azhar Ali. So I feel like very different styles again here. Behram's gone with players that surprised him,
Yeah.
right? Me and Estelle have gone with very much cricketers that most cricket fans don't know existed.
Yep. I think that's fair. But yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and I don't think we've ever done anything like this either. Also, I want you guys, everyone who's watching this, to tell me in the comment section below which team is our team beating in an ODI game. Who can they actually defeat?
I mean, they could.
They could. Well, who? Who could they beat?
Like,
Could they
if,
beat?
if they
could they
played
beat the
in a
Dutch?
knockout tournament, if they played a
could they beat
knockout
the Dutch?
tournament,
Could this team
maybe.
beat the Dutch, Estelle?
I mean, if everyone had their best day, yeah, sure.
You think?
guess.
I reckon I'm backing the Dutch in that side, right? I just think modern Zimbabwe side, I'm backing modern Zimbabwe.
Yep.
I reckon this team's struggling to beat some teams. It's, you know, my God, the batting is terrible. It really is. Until you get to like Ferguson, and then straight after Ferguson, you've got Hines and Hope and Brown. Hauritz might have to bat at 6 in the side.
Yeah. But anyway, that kind of wraps up this episode of the Crickpicks podcast. So let us know in the comment section who you think won this and which players we potentially missed out, because I'm sure there must be a few or a couple maybe because there were only 9 squads, or 10 because India and Sri Lanka both won in 2002. But yeah, anyway, just a quick reminder, you guys can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage, and that can prove to be your one-stop shop for all the work that we do as part of this team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. We'll see you soon next week with another episode of Crickpicks, and that is all for now, folks. Have a good one, and goodbye.
It took God and the demon to build international cricket, but don't tell Johnny Bairstow. 1882, Australia had played 1 test in England against the god W.G. Grace, and they sucked. So they were playing him again, and it was a tough wicket. But England was in front, so Australia was desperate for a 3rd innings lead. At number 8 was young all-rounder Sammy Jones. After a routine single, he walks down to do some gardening on the pitch. Grace whips off the bails and appeals. The ball wasn't dead, Jones was run out. The Australians were furious. In fact, some of the English players were also furious. But what Grace said went, and the umpires had already given it. Next in was Fred Spofford. He was known as the demon fast bowler. He was furious, and he let England know exactly what was coming next, which was maiden. There's 12 maidens. I can't count them all. England only needed 85 to win. W.G. Grace made 32. England only 77. That was the test where the Ashes began. Buy my book Overthrowing Cricket's Empire on Amazon today.